Happy Tuesday, folks, and welcome back to another red-hot edition of the Mr. Sitter podcast with me, Anthony Locascio, coming to you not so live, but close enough to live to just less than 24 hours until the very first semi-final of the Qatar 2022 World Cup. We are so excited here, we being me, Vegeta, and Del Piero over here, and my mug. Shout out to Alex Lamond Nutrition, technically a sponsor of the podcast, for providing the mug. You can buy a mug if you want from me. Just send a message. We have a cool episode today because I'm going to be chatting about a whole bunch of shit around the World Cup, and then we're going to be previewing tonight's match and a little bit of the following night's match. But effectively, I have free reign because there's nothing much to cover other than just the random news of the day. So we're getting into that. We're gonna crack into that, including the big decision coming out of the A-Leagues yesterday. I don't know if you guys are all Aussies. You must be all Aussies because people overseas, they don't want to hear Aussie accents talking about football. It's not a thing that they like. According to my TikTok, I was told, stick to talking about school shootings, you fucking American, by one very upset punter at something that I said on TikTok. So they don't want to hear my accent. Nonetheless, if you're all Aussies, you should be paying attention to what's happened in the A-Leagues. Also, when did it become the A-Leagues? I always remember being the A-League, and now it's A-Leagues for some reason. As far as I know, there's only one of them. And there's no need to have pluralized it. If anybody can give me the rationale behind pluralizing it, that would be cool. That would be great. I need to hear about that. It sounds like how Wog mums randomly pluralize things. You know, like we're shopping at Myers. My son, he works at Deloitte's, the sandwich shop. That's what it sounds like to me. A-Leagues, but nonetheless. The decision on the part of the A-Leagues was made to strike a deal with Destination New South Wales to host the grand final for the next 3 editions of the A-Leagues in Sydney, presumably at the Sydney Football Stadium, the recently revamped and frankly absolutely amazing Sydney Football Stadium, but could be where the Wanderers play too. This is a very stupid decision. It's upset a lot of football fans in this country because why should you have to travel to a specific destination if you're, a Perthian, for example? It's obvious why it's upset a lot of people. And dude, way to make the entire country hate Sydney even more than they already do. I'm not going to pretend like I'm not extraordinarily biased, but also quite objective in my opinion about Sydney. Obviously, this is the most beautiful city in this country, but you still got to have a rotating grand final policy. This is just a terrible decision and a clear cash grab on the A-League's part. Although my sources lead me to believe that Destination New South Wales don't have a lot of money at all. So I think it's just like general revenue kind of net casting for both organizations. And, good on him. Whatever. That's Aussie football for you guys. That's what happens here. We are 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. How good. Speaking of Australian football organisations taking 3 steps back, yesterday I wanted to mention this on the podcast because some of you may not follow me on Instagram, but I saw a post on Instagram from Stan Sports FC where they had an appraisal of Yusuf En-Nesyri. They had how many goals he scored and how many touches he took in the match and assists and blah, blah, blah. And they had all the stats. And then next to it, they had a photo of Gonzalo Ramos. Yeah, Gonzalo Ramos, who, okay, let's be fair. Maybe they look a little bit alike. Maybe Gonzalo Ramos and Yusuf En-Nesyri look a little bit similar. But he's wearing a Portugal jersey in the photo. I don't know which admin is responsible for that. I don't know how you get the job of being a Stan Sport FC football club. It's not Stan Sports General, it's Stan Sports Football. I don't know how you get a job as the admin of that page without knowing a couple of things about football. But it was a big fuck up and it made me laugh a lot. And then they repealed it, obviously, a couple of decades of minutes later. Is that a turn of phrase? Decades of minutes. A pair of 10-minute intervals later, they corrected it, but not after I wrote a very snarky comment on the photo. So, Anthony 1, Stan Sports 0. This is me just trying to meet. I just want to have coffee with Max Rushton. That was the purpose of me doing the This is the Guardian the other day. I want to be sued by Max Rushton so we can have coffee and we can realize that we're really good friends, me and him. Nonetheless, let's crack into a few other things that happened. I didn't get to cover yesterday because once again, I do my podcasts so quick after the fact that I don't get to see all of the kind of little memes and shit that come out of it. So I'm a day behind with all that stuff. That's not going to happen in the podcast moving forward after the World Cup. Rest assured, I am going to be the capture zone for all the funny shit that happens in football. 100%. But what I did miss yesterday was that wonderful photo of Kylian Mbappe laughing his ballsack off at Harry Kane missing the penalty against France. It's very funny because Kylian's like he's a cute little guy. You know what I mean? He's a cute little face with his shaved head and his little hook nose. He's a cute little guy. He forever looks like he's 15. You know, he's a cute little guy. But that's a bit of a cunt thing to do, don't you reckon? To laugh at Harry Kane, to be relieved, to fist bump, to be happy that France have made it into the semi-finals, probably on the back of this penalty miss is one thing. To laugh is quite another thing. Is Kylian Mbappe an asshole? That's what we're here to talk about today. The ego on this kid has been something that's quite well documented in the last year or so. He is the world's highest paid player based on his recent contract renewal with Paris Saint-Germain, which also afforded him, reportedly, a lot of political power within the club, including the opportunity to make like executive decisions on recruitment, policy, like hierarchy of decision making, etc., etc. He's basically become an extra executive, but on the pitch, which is how desperate they were to keep him. There was controversy a couple of months ago where he said like he wanted to leave in January because he felt like these promises weren't being adhered to, and I think all of that had to do with the fact that PSG failed to sign a proper number 9 in the summer, which is what he wanted. He's been tasked with playing the number 9 role, which he doesn't like, and even though PSG have been absolutely on fire in the Champions League and in France, he's kind of been, if you can say this, the dimmest of the shining lights in PSG. Neymar and Messi have both had phenomenal seasons, and Mbappe doesn't love it. He doesn't love it because he prefers playing for France, where he's got Giroud up front to just be the big boy, dominating the entire space and taking up the defender's time, so that he can have all the free reign to run into and do all the Kylian Mbappe things. And he has lamented how France beat Austria 2-0, and they interviewed him earlier. They interviewed him after the game. And he basically said, "Oh, it's different here. I like it when I play with the proper number 9, not when I'm supposed to be the number 9." So there's when you are given tacit confirmation that you are, if anything, just as big as, if not bigger than the club, by the club themselves, by being given a contract like this, the whole thing falls apart. No one player is bigger than any one club. That is the ethos of club football. That's the rule. That's the bedrock. That's what we determine our philosophy on. That was a terrible sentence. I haven't had enough coffee today. I haven't had enough coffee from my Mr. Sitter podcast mug today. So let me just have a sip. And we're back, baby. The French president, Macron, personally sat down with Mbappe when he was deliberating on signing for Real Madrid or sticking with PSG, and basically begged him to stick around to do it for his country. When something like that is afforded to a man of 23 years of age, you can expect the ego on this person to absolutely inflate. Gone are the days of this cute little grinning 15-year-old boy. He has now become a man, and he's a bit of a douchebag. And frankly, it's for that reason that France winning the World Cup is bottom of my permutations of how this World Cup might go, but we'll get into that in a little bit because we've got a few more little bits of news to chat about today. His teammate Neymar has been quite frustrated with his ego, Kylian Mbappe, and there's a bit of tension there. Neymar, for his part, is not quite the egotist that a lot of people would have assumed, per his message that he sent to Rodrigo after Rodrigo's penalty miss, essentially saying, it's been an honor to be a part of your career. I hope you go on to become one of Brazil's greatest ever players. Penalties are only missed by those who take them, so please don't let this get you down. I like you for free. I don't like you for the player that you are. I like you for the person that you are. I'm here for you, and we're together. And take it easy in these next few days. Which, Neymar gets accused of being a bit of a flamboyant diva, a bit of a guy who likes to party too much. Him being an egotist, not on the level of Cristiano Ronaldo, obviously, and indeed Kylian Mbappe, who holds Cristiano as one of his idols. Neymar has never really been accused of an egotist, but you would assume that he might be a little bit. But I like this message. This message brought a man tear to my eye when I read it. Although you have to question the rationale behind because Neymar posted this message. It's like, look at how good of a guy I am. But I think it might have been to influence maybe the Brazilian public to not absolutely hammer Rodrigo, which tends to happen when young players miss penalties in big matches. So we reserve love for Neymar, who is, quote, psychologically destroyed. This defeat has hurt me the most in my entire career. Talking about the defeat to Croatia, of course. And you get it, right? You get it, because Brazil were maybe not overwhelming, but quite considerable favourites in this tournament, especially given France's injury record. And you just got to feel for him, because he did everything he could. He got injured, and he played quite well against Korea, and he played okay against Croatia. He scored one of the goals of the tournament. And you look at this guy, and you look at the kid that was playing for Santos with that ridiculous mullet mohawk combo, and like the band-aid over his nose. That's the Neymar that I think of, like too many wristbands, sweatbands, and shit. And Neymar was heralded like he was a megastar before he even came to Europe. All of the teams in Europe were lining up for this guy, and this was around the time where Messi was scoring 91 billion goals a season, and Ronaldo was like catching up to him with like 81 billion goals a season. And the paradigm for football had shifted, and you genuinely thought that the Cristiano and Messi dichotomy would be the way it would work moving forward, that this is just going to be the norm, and that superstars of this caliber are just going to pop up in droves. And Neymar looked to be the next mantle holder of that dichotomy. And then, of course, he went to Barcelona and formed that amazing triumvirate with Messi and Suarez, and they won the Champions League, and he was quite great. And since he went to PSG, it's just not really worked out for him the way he would have wanted. He still had an amazing career, and he's been a wonderful player and a wonderful ambassador for the game with gestures like this. And I'm sure after he retires, he's not done. He's fucking 30. I'm 30. He's young, but this is probably his last chance to be this guy at the World Cup for Brazil. Brazil may well win the next World Cup, but I don't, at 34, I don't think that he's going to play a starring role. And I kind of feel for him. Because this would have been the feather in the cap had they won this. This would have been the feather in the cap that neither Ronaldo or Messi would have been able to claim. Messi may well still claim it, but we'll chat about that in a little bit. So I get it, and I feel bad for him. So sympathy with Neymar. If Messi does win the World Cup, one of the players that will have played not equally, but a decent starring role alongside him, and they've been few and far between because a lot of his teammates have been quite shit. But Enzo Fernandez is one real standout from this tournament, who has reportedly agreed a deal in principle to sign with Liverpool moving forward in the next January transfer window. I don't know the validity of these claims. It's not Fabrizio Romano ticked, but it looks like something that might be really hot, because Liverpool are clearly looking for a midfielder to not only replace Hendo, but a few of the other guys in the midfield. They've got an aging midfield and that's kind of the department that's been lacking this season. They're looking at Jude Bellingham, obviously, very openly, and they're looking at Enzo Fernandez. If they could sign both, holy fucking shit, hand the title to Liverpool every single season moving forward. Which title? Doesn't really matter. But Enzo Fernandez, excellent player, really, really good. And yeah, hopefully he has a big career, because I like him. Guy I don't like is Mateo Lahoz, the referee who refereed Argentina versus Netherlands. Some of you guys might remember. He has been accused of attention seeking, I think is the mildest way to put it. This guy's a bit of an asshole. He's Spanish, and he referees in Spain in La Liga, and he is quite well known for his antics, for making it all about himself, for making the narrative of the game all about him. This is something that he has a lot of priors with, something that he probably did against. It's not for me to say. I refereed a little bit when I was 14, so I don't quite have the acumen to be able to make this statement. But yeah, there was a lot of kind of card happy theatrics and histrionics from this referee. He has been very rightfully sent home from the World Cup. He will not be refereeing another game in this tournament. Certainly not a game that Olivier Giroud or Walid Regragui will be participating in, which is, of course, France-Morocco. Those two, very very unfamously, played together in 2008 for Grenoble. A photo came out of them tackling each other in training. The Morocco coach and the France number 9 all-time record goal scorer, which is super cool. It's like a young Giroud, still looking handsome as fuck, no beard, not as cool a haircut, tackling Regragui, who probably would have been at the tail end of his career at this point. That's super duper cool to see. And the match between them, I hope to see a very nice embrace between them in the Morocco-France game. The Morocco story just gets richer and richer with every passing day. Reports have said that since 2015, every penny that Hakim Ziyech has earned from the Morocco national team has been donated to charity. Every single penny, including a estimated sum of £185,000 in 2019 he gave to cancer patients in Morocco. So good guy Ziyech, we really like him, and hopefully he's not injured for this game, because they've got a lot of injuries and they may be missing some very important players, and to defeat the world champions in the semi-final is probably going to be a bridge too far for them. But what do I know? They did defeat Portugal in the last round, though, and we did see this image of Cristiano Ronaldo crying. I still maintain he was laughing, but I'm not a psychology major. And there's just been like so much sympathy that's come out for this guy. You've had all the people on social media, you're the GOAT and you're the best, and Cristiano's legacy will not be affected by blah 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 blah, and fucking the one game doesn't define you. You are the greatest. Blah 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 blah. And then you got like I'm not going to name names, but you got particular football journalists saying, it was the saddest thing. He walked past me and it was so heartbreaking to see. Let's remember a couple of things, motherfuckers. This guy, after losing this game, after the career that he's had, decided to not shake hands with a single player of the opposing team that defeated him. Instead of hanging with his teammates, offering a hand, shoulder to cry on for some of his less experienced, younger teammates, he just speaks to nobody and just makes his way down the tunnel without his teammates, without his coach, by himself. If this is indeed his last game for Portugal, which his sister has come out and said he'll be 41 by the time the next World Cup rolls around, that's the prime of your life, he'll be playing. He has personally said that he wants to be there for the next Euros. Like, the horse is bolted, bro. Your career's over. You're not good enough to play at this level anymore as anything but a super sub. And as a super sub, he was thrown in way too early. If Fernando Santos steps down, which we don't know that he stepped down yet, and like I hope Jose Mourinho comes in, like Jose Mourinho has been perfect for international football for the last 5 years or so. He needs to take over Portugal. Get him out of Serie A. Get him in the Portugal hot seat. There's no way this guy's calling up Cristiano at his age. Can't do anything for him. I don't understand why we have so much sympathy for this guy. He's got more money, more Botox, more famous girlfriends than any of you people that are typing on Twitter for sympathy for him will ever had. Like, get over it. Get over it. He lost. He didn't deserve to win. Okay? Fuck it. Sympathy for this multi-billionaire, the person who has more Instagram followers than anybody in human history, and he's cried because his team lost to the greatest underdog story that the World Cup may ever have. Get over it, guys. He doesn't need your sympathy. Move on. Speaking of moving on, we're going to crack into the matches. We've got some juicy semi-finals. The whole World Cup's been juicy. I said in my preview that I thought maybe this World Cup wouldn't be good from a footballing perspective. I was wrong on that. We were wrong on a lot of things. Sue me. What are you going to do? I was wrong on that. The football's been great. The stories have been great. The matches have been great. The drama's been great. And it's not going to end here. It can't end. It literally cannot end. Because no matter who wins this World Cup, we are going to be dealt 4 possible, astonishing permutations from the semi-finals. And I will discuss them right now in order of how excited I would be about them from least to most. Starting with France winning the World Cup, which don't get me wrong, just because it's the least exciting one doesn't mean it's not exciting for me. France being the first team since Brazil in 1958 and 1962 to retain the World Cup. That was, of course, Pelé's Brazil. No one's done it since then. No one's retained the World Cup since then. A few have made back-to-back finals, but no one's retained the World Cup. And that's quite astonishing. In fact, the only 2 teams to ever do it are that aforementioned Brazil team and Italy doing it in 1934 and 1938. Italia. No one's done it since, and it would be incredible, not just for the historic nature of it, but it would be incredible given the injuries that they've had. Paul Pogba and N'Golo Kante, career-wise in club football, have not been leading lights the way they used to be in the last few years. Paul Pogba's been ravaged by injuries, as has Kante. Their club form has been completely affected by this, and they're not the players that they once were. For the leadership, though, France could have really used them, and Paul Pogba, I think N'Golo Kante's body has broken down to the degree where he's not going to be super duper useful moving forward. He can't be that all-action guy that he once was, and I think his career will slowly wind down. But Pogba, on his day, considerably younger than Kante as well, on his day, Pogba is still a match winner, and they'll be upset to miss him, and France's loss is Juve's gain. Most importantly, though, Karim Benzema going down just a couple of days even, before the tournament started. The Ballon d'Or winner, absolute talisman for Real Madrid and for France of late. It would be a big loss if they didn't have Olivier Giroud. Olivier Giroud, just the man, the myth, the legend, underappreciated by so many people, and even if he is another protagonist in winning the second World Cup on the trot for France, even though he scored no goals in the last World Cup, everybody likes to remember that little stat. He's a legend, and we love Olivier Giroud, who until he was like 23 or something was playing in the 3rd division of France. Legend. So I'd be thoroughly impressed if France could do it without all these players, but it would be the 4th most exciting win in this World Cup for me. The 3rd would be Croatia winning their maiden World Cup. I do appreciate the underdog story that this would represent, especially given that Croatia are the 4th smallest nation competing at this World Cup with a population of just 3.8 million people. Yet, despite this, since 1998, they have been a force. This is their 3rd semi-final appearance since then, and Croatian football as a general is not like... It's not like they're a small nation that pump a fuckload of money into their sport. It's grossly underfunded. The country has no national stadium, which was the case for Greece when they won 2004 World Cup, so remember. And they have no training center, and until recently, the idea of seeing the Croatian national team training in random parks, like across Zagreb and shit, was something that wasn't foreign. They used to see that, and there's been scandals left, right, and center with the executive director Damir Vibranovic, sentenced to 3 years in prison in 2018 for a tax evasion scheme. So they're like, there's shit going on in the Croatian national team that would lend you to think that this shouldn't be a team that's doing this well, especially given that they have no real strikers since Mandzukic retired. Yet they're doing it. And why are they doing it? According to Luka Modric and several of the other players, the sporting culture in Croatia was inherited from the communist regime of the region following the breakup of Yugoslavia, wherein, of course, the communist kind of credos would herald sporting excellence as both propaganda and also something that's healthy to do. So there's big sporting culture in these countries. That's why you see so many great tennis players coming from former Yugoslavian nations, the Novak Djokovic's of this world, etc., and this Croatian team, and the war that they've been through, the trauma that this nation has been through, is something that greatly motivates them. Luka Modric has come out and spoken about how heavy the shirt weighs and how desperate these players are to show how important it is for them to wear this shirt. So there's a lot to like about Croatia winning this World Cup. I just have them third in my care for two reasons. Mostly because if they're going to win it, you know how they're going to win it. They're going to do it exactly how they did it against Japan and Brazil. It's going to be, we're going to hang on to the ball. We are going to use the likes of Luka Modric and Mateo Kovacic to, it's easy to say that they just retain possession and then, they strike in certain moments and they frustrate and they defend. They don't just do, tactically, they're extremely smart. I think Dalic is a really, really good coach. In as far as they just know how to operate the moments. They don't just take possession and not give it back to the opposition, but they take the sting out of the momentum of the game at the right times. There were times of Brazil looked like they're in the ascendancy. The second you got the ball to Luka Modric just slowed the tempo of the game down to a pace that confused the Brazilians. They managed to do things like this, which you have to really watch them to notice, and it's effective, and it may well work. I don't think it will, but my predictions are meaningless. So for that reason, because of the lack of kind of dynamism and kind of variety in how they play, I don't want them to win as much as I want Argentina and Morocco to win. And the other thing is that Croatians in Sydney are annoying. They're a bit over the top. I went to Sydney United game a couple of months ago against the Monero Panthers from Kimbian, and they set up a flare 1.5 meters to my right, and they're crazy. And those people are annoying, and I don't want Croatia to win because I don't want flares going off in Sydney. But it would be great if any of these happen. This is a great World Cup. It would be great if any of these happen. The second one that I want, the third one in order, the second one that I want the most is, of course, Argentina to win it for Messi. It goes without saying why this is a good one. He's the greatest of all time, no question. This tournament, if anything, has shown me it. I always kind of felt that, but I'm not a Barcelona fan. And I'm not an Argentina. I have no personal connection to Messi, but you have to say that for what he's done, for how successful he's been, his numbers don't lie. He's statistically one of the greatest players of all time. He is trophy-wise one of the greatest players of all time. He is on the eye test the greatest player of all time, and I think it all depends on who you stack him up against. As far as I see, there are only 4 players that you could even put in the same conversation with Lionel Messi, and I will quickly go through why he's better than all of them. Cristiano, first of all, if Messi wins this World Cup, then his legacy will outweigh Ronaldo's. He's got more Ballon d'Ors than Ronaldo, and I'm not one to say that because Messi's talent comes from this kind of weird alien natural raw ability that he has, and not the hard work that Ronaldo's put in. I'm remiss to say that, and I won't say that because that doesn't make you a better player. What does make you a better overall player, for me, is the lack of sheer unadulterated egotism that Ronaldo has shown. I'm not gonna rehash what he did at the end of the Morocco game, but this is the kind of guy he is. Messi is not. Messi doesn't give interviews with Piers Morgan. Messi doesn't give interviews, period. He was a bit of a hothead in the last game, and I hope that continues because that's theatre. But nonetheless, for that reason alone, he pips Ronaldo for me. Personal pick for me is Brazilian Ronaldo, who I still maintain he would have been the greatest player of all time, if not for the injuries, but because of the injuries, Messi's above him. You've got Pelé. Pelé, I never saw him play, obviously. The legacy, yes, yes, yes. The goal record, yes, yes, yes. What he did for the game, yes, yes, yes. But for Messi to do this in an era where there is not only the best sports science in the world, athletes operating at a level that you otherwise never would have seen in previous generations, with the global game being so under the microscope, every action that this guy takes on the football pitch is scrutinized and delineated and torn apart by every media outlet on the planet. The pressure that he has been under compared to what would have been Pelé's situation, no comparison to me. And then finally, you've got Diego Maradona, another player who I've only seen in patches. And there's eerie parallels, not just because they're little Argentinian guys. There's eerie parallels because Maradona's legacy was built on him dragging a fairly lackluster Argentina side to victory in the 1986 World Cup in Mexico, which is something that may well happen here. Something that may well happen with Messi, because this Argentine team ain't great. They're good, but they ain't great. And I think the trophy haul, the consistency, and the fact that Messi was not raised in the slums that Maradona was raised in. Messi did not have the grungy upbringing that Maradona did, which perhaps led him to be more liable to the kind of party and shady lifestyle that he adopted, certainly as his career was faltering and definitely when he retired. But Messi, purely by being just a general better ambassador for the game as both a role model and a person, that puts him ahead of Maradona for me. And yeah, the numbers, the trophies, all of that. He's the greatest of all time, and he deserves to have a World Cup in his locker. But football is a cruel mistress, and they may not even make it past Croatia. But we'll see. And then finally, very obviously, the one that we all... I don't know if we all want to see it, but the one that I want to see the most, and a lot of people around the world want to see, is Morocco winning the World Cup. Fuck it. Let's have Morocco win the World Cup for Africa, for the Arab world, for themselves, for underdogs everywhere, for the story, for so many different storylines, for so many different people. If Morocco won the World Cup, it wouldn't just change football. It may legitimately change the world. For young Africans, for young Arabs, for young people operating in situations where they aren't overly fancied to succeed in whatever they do. It's something that will... The effects will reverberate throughout the world if they do this. And they're not Greece 2004ing it. They're a really good football team, and I would love to see it. I don't know how their injury situation is going to play out. There's a lot of question marks going into the match. Roman Saiz, who's been their captain and has been great, was stretchered off in the last game. We don't know if he's going to play. Aguerd, his normal centre-back partner, didn't play against Portugal because he had a low-grade muscle tear. He's apparently unlikely to make the return. Mazraoui suffered a hip flexor injury against Croatia. We chatted about it in the podcast. I said he's being a little bitch. He's not. It's a proper hip flexor injury, and I have a almost permanent hip flexor injury. So, like, I if anybody should be sympathetic, it's me. But Mazraoui might play. Ziyech is fine, from what we know, even though he did have to come off with what looked like a little bit of an injury against Portugal. And then Shadira, the big kind of footy player, is out because he is suspended from getting 2 yellow cards in the last match. But Amrabat's still playing, and Bonu's still playing, and Hakimi's still playing, and Nesri is still playing, although they might put on Gonzalo Ramos and see if anybody notices. Cool job, Stan Sports. Let's hope they do it. There are 4 different finals that might happen. We might get a France-Argentina, a France-Croatia, a Morocco-Croatia, or a Morocco-Argentina. Could get a repeat of the last World Cup final, which has happened as recently as 1986 and 1999 with Argentina and West Germany. Of course, they're trading winners across them. It doesn't happen very often. I would not like that to happen. I would very much not like to see a France-Croatia final again. I don't think that would be fun. I would personally love to see a Morocco-Croatia final, but I think the best one would be Morocco-Argentina. That would be fun. Let's chat about tonight's game really quickly before I let y'all go. It's Croatia-Argentina tonight. It's a toughie. It's a toughie because I have bet against Croatia for the entire World Cup. Not bet, I don't bet, but I have predicted against them for the entire World Cup. I did not think they were going to make it through the group. They did. They were a couple of Romelu Lukaku sitters away from not doing it, but they did it. They defeated Japan, who disappointing. Japan were one of my teams. They defeated Brazil. They were on the brink of death after Neymar's goal, and they defeated Brazil. So you would not bet against them. But they're not going to beat Messi. They're not going to beat this historic moment for Messi. If Scaloni goes with 3 at the back again, which I think he should maintain for the rest of the tournament, because not only was it wasn't just a tactical decision to defeat and to match up against the Netherlands specifically, but it's also, I think, the best way that Argentina could possibly line up. However, it has been stated quite openly that Angel Di Maria is back and he will be starting, which means we could see a 4-3-3. I don't know who plays on the left. If he plays on the right, Messi in the middle. I don't know what they're going to do with that. Di Maria's a spent force, and I hope they don't do that because they could be in a lot of trouble. If they go 3-5-2, it's going to be Argentina, and Low Cash is going to say that it's going to be 2-0. We will discuss my predictions for the Morocco-France game tomorrow. Enjoy the game, guys. It's 6 a.m. It's very digestible. Get up and enjoy the football, and enjoy this World Cup, and enjoy your lives, and hashtag raise your daughters, and hashtag buy a mug.